Pregame.com.
Vegas Runner joined by Scott Spreitzer. Saints at San Fran for only the second time in the last, 29, 30 years. We have the road team favored in the divisional round of the playoffs. Saints opened 3 minus $1.25, didn't last at all. Now we're looking at 3.5. I've seen some 4s out there. I think more 4s are going to follow. Totals 47.5. Where it opened. Who do you like? Why do you like them?
Well, I'll tell you what, when you look at this line and you got San Francisco at home with a week off to prepare and you've got a fantastic coaching staff, and I'm going to get into more of the way this coaching staff manages a football game, I think better than just about every other coaching staff in the NFL right now. The way they do manage things, I think they can overcome what the Saints bring to the game, which is a lot of offensive weaponry, obviously. They allow just 14.3 points per game, talking about San Francisco. They're one of the top teams in the league in just about every key category defensively, and they're extremely stingy inside the red zone. And, one of the things I did, and I went back and looked to a couple of years ago, the last time these two teams played. Now, the New Orleans offense is even better than that version was. Darren Sproles is an upgrade at running back, and they've got a 3-headed running back situation when you talk about Ivory and Pierre Thomas and Ingram when it comes to running the ball between the tackles, so the team can beat you so many different ways, and of course Jimmy Graham into the mix. But this was a 25-22 game at San Francisco a couple years ago, and you're talking about a serious upgrade for San Francisco in the coaching from what it was when Singletary and his group was in charge. And you're talking about basically the same key players for San Francisco now that was there then. So there's no intimidation factor. This team knows how to defend this team from what they did a couple of years ago, and I think that gives them a little bit of an advantage. Now, I'm not one of those syllogistic handicappers who says, A plus B equals C and so on. You know what I mean? So
Team A beat Team B and that way.
Yeah, you remember your college years. So the bottom line is you can't put too much into that. But I like what their defense does, and I think they can clog the middle enough to make Drew Brees have to pass from more of an uncomfortable situation than what he's had, like last week, for instance.
So do you think that what San Francisco tries to do is create the same problems New Orleans had last year? Remember, New Orleans had problems last year because they weren't successful rushing the football.
Right.
This year, all of a sudden, they're 6th in the NFL in rushing yards, and that's opened the passing game and allowed Drew Brees to break every possible passing record there is. So do you believe that that's going to be Harbaugh's going in? That's the game plan. Let's try to turn this offense, as potent as it is, let's make it one-dimensional, at least eliminate something, because this offense is as deadly as they come.
Right.
So you're going to have to choose your poison. And are we going to allow them to have some success rushing? Because New Orleans had a lot of success rushing this year. I mean, 135 yards, 4.9 per carry, even though on the road, it's only 100 yards per game. Still, they've had success rushing the football. So is San Fran going to try to cut out one of those things? Because I don't see anybody stopping everything, meaning we're going to shut down Brees and they're not going to run on us. I don't think the 85 Bears would be able to do this to this team unless it was in, blizzard conditions.
They have to choose their poison or pick their poison, so to speak, San Francisco. But what New Orleans did last week is they faced a team that was soft against the run. As much as you might like that, the individuals on the defensive line for Detroit, they were soft against the run. Also, you had a team in Detroit that was bad outside the numbers on defense, and by outside the numbers,
too.
Yeah, and I'm talking about outside the numbers on the field that you see painted on the field. San Francisco doesn't have that issue. So you have a team in New Orleans who does go over the middle. They come out of the backfield with Darren Sproles when they throw passes. They've got the tight end Jimmy Graham, maybe the best tight end in the business this year. But the bottom line is, I think they can avoid from being burned outside the numbers. And when Drew Brees has those incredible days, he has great days almost every week, it seems like. But when he goes over the top to that next level, it's usually because he's got guys like Meacham and Colston and Henderson who beat teams outside the numbers. San Francisco doesn't let that happen. So I think you've got to what you got to focus on if you're the Niners and you have their ability in the secondary is make sure this team doesn't beat you outside. Keep them bottled up inside. New Orleans is going to get their plays, but if they're not able to hit you and beat you outside the numbers, it's also going to cause a little problem with those passes over the middle. I think that has a lot to do with San Francisco, what they're going to try to do in this game defensively.
Well, we got two of the hottest teams coming in as far as success against the spread. On San Francisco's side, I think it was a case of this team coming in undervalued.
Sure.
And that's the reason, not the reason they went 13-3, but the reason they went 12-3-1 against the spread. New Orleans, on the flip side, we all expected them to be a very good team this year. You know, I believe they had so much success against the spread because they exceeded expectations. Sure. You just couldn't put the number high enough. I was a little surprised at how high this number came out, more or less disrespecting San Fran and disrespecting their home field edge. But I can understand it because of the momentum the Saints have built. You know, not just winning 9 straight and covering 9 straight, but the way they've been able to do it.
Right.
And on the flip side, you have San Fran. Sure, they've won 8 of the last 10. They've covered 8 of the last 10. But they're not the most sexy team, let's put it that way, that the public's going to fall in love with. Personally, I agree. This line's inflated. I made my true line New Orleans -1. I still believe they should be slightly favored even on the road in this spot. So I do agree that there's value as far as the point spread goes. It's no secret I have a big future bet on New Orleans. I didn't hedge a penny last week. In fact, I bet the Saints. I just felt that they were just going to light it up. And this week it does scare me. You know, I think the value is with the San Fran side. With that said, this team just looks so destined and dangerous right now. Do you think that the outdoors is going to be the reason, or is San Francisco just capable? Because I'm hearing too much about, oh, they're only 3-2 outdoors, or, you know, Drew Brees has a 95 passer rating on the road, you know. Sure, this team scores less on the road than it does at home, but they still put up 27 points per game outside of New Orleans.
That doesn't bother me at all. To answer that question quickly, it doesn't bother me that they're going to be outside. In fact, I was driving over to the pregame studios earlier today, and there was a local radio show who was talking about, oh man, I love the Saints, and I hope the field's nasty and it's raining. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? Because if you're a defensive back, if you're in a secondary, you want a dry field. You don't want to be backpedaling on the mud.
Exactly.
The receiver knows where he's going in his route, and he's got a huge advantage, unless it's windy. He's got a huge advantage when there's muck, you know, when the field is torn up. But what I do believe is that this is a situation of matchups. Detroit, by the way, as bad as they are and as undisciplined as they are defensively, as you mentioned, they were in the game defensively until the fourth quarter.
They played well.
You know, so
who wins the time of possession battle?
In this game?
Yeah.
I'm going to say if San Francisco wins, they're going to do it because, and let me answer that with another kind of, don't let me forget.
Yeah, we're going to ramble because this is a big game.
What I'm talking about in this one, and the reason I think that they're going to win this game, or at least, you know, it's going to be in it till the very end, is the fact that I do believe that they aren't that 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense that everybody calls them, or not everybody, but a lot of the media calls them. Don't forget that late in the season, this was an offense, and they still might be, I got to go back and check, but very late in the season, they were number 1 in the NFL in completion percentage on first down, 71%.
Yeah, but what about
also
third down?
Well, I was going to say they were also the least. They threw the least amount of passes.
Right, but on third down, that's what scares me. San Fran converts only 29% of their third downs.
No, I totally understand that.
Where the New Orleans converts 57% of third down opportunities. 55% on the road.
Right.
Not only that, if you stop them on third down, you may have to stop them again on fourth down, as we learned Sean Payton isn't afraid to go for it. So what if San Fran stumbles a few times? What if they can't keep a drive going and they have a few of these 3 and outs?
Sure.
And New Orleans is able to go downfield and score on them. Can Alex Smith bring this team back?
Well, that's the big question mark, is if they're down 14 points midway through the third quarter,
like Denver,
quarter, they got to start throwing the football. They got to start winging it. But the bottom line is you mentioned the third down completion percentage or third down success percentage of these two teams. One of the reasons San Francisco's was down is because Harbaugh and his offensive coaches game manage this team so well. And what I'm saying by that is, you know, I mentioned the 71% completion rate on first down. They've thrown the fewest amount of passes on third down of any team in the league, which means they're trying to get short. Yeah, exactly. They're trying to get San Francisco and Alex Smith so he doesn't make costly mistakes into third and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. Play action on first down, try to pick up 5 or 6 yards, maybe run the ball in second, get within that 3rd and 1 or 3rd. If they're 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, you're not going to likely see, unless they're way behind, you're not going to see Alex Smith gunning the ball 25 yards downfield. It's going to be safe routes so he doesn't make that costly mistake.
It seems to me like all we keep hearing, seeing, reading about is Saints offense versus San Francisco defense.
Right.
In all my years of sports betting and all my years of being a fan, it usually never comes down to what we think it's going to come down to. You know what I mean? Like, you expect a shootout with two great offensive teams, and the game ends 10-7. It just usually never works out that way because we know the strengths, we know the weaknesses, so do these teams, and that's what you're going to work on.
Right.
San Fran's working on stopping New Orleans, you know, and New Orleans is trying to hope they could light up the scoreboard and force San Fran to come from behind. I think this game will be played a little bit closer than that. You know, I just don't think it's going to be that simple. Do you like this offense of New Orleans or the defense of San Francisco? I think San Fran's going to have some success offensively.
Well, here's what they
and
did.
New Orleans is going to have success defensively, right?
Sure, and here's what they did is last time they did hook up in that 3-point game, San Fran ran for about 5.5 yards per carry. They took it right to them. They ran it. They didn't try to go outside and play a cutesy kind of football game. They pounded the ball between the tackles 142 yards on 5.5 yards per pop. At the same time, the same basic defense held that New Orleans offense to 50 yards on 24 carries. Really changed their game plan. Now, again, this is a little bit different of a running back situation than it was then, but the game plan's still the same.
Right.
New Orleans is still running the same basic plays that they ran, even though they didn't have a guy like Sproles in the backfield, and Pierre Thomas was either injured or wasn't as big of a part of the offense as he is now. But the bottom line is, I just think that for my handicapping when it comes down to it, I think the Niners are going to keep the New Orleans passing game within the numbers on the field.
What about
and
the San
offensively
Fran
run the ball.
offense? Tell me the San Fran offense, because that's exactly it. They're going to have success. You got to score points to win a game.
Sure.
You can't just shut somebody
Well, they
out.
can't screw
You
up in the
gotta
red
score.
zone like they have been a lot of
exactly,
times.
but you got to score. The thing is this. Will San Fran make it easy on the Saints by simply just running the ball? Because we know that's their strength.
Right.
You know, they're
It's
29th in the
it's
league
their strength
in
on
passing
second down
yards.
and makeable yardage.
Right,
They
but
can't
what
be
I'm
doing it on first down.
Right. What I'm saying is the Saints' weakness defensively has been against the pass. They're 30th in passing yards allowed.
Well, you know why? Because so many times
Everybody's
they're so far
chasing.
ahead, everybody's
Right,
chasing.
right.
That's part of
But
it.
Do you think Alex Smith, it's going to be in his hands? He's going to have to go out there and beat this team?
Well, if it's just in Alex Smith's hands, I don't think they win this football game, and I think I'm in trouble. I just told you I'm taking here in San Francisco. I don't think you can change your personality at this point of the season of a team. If you're 13-3 or 12, if you're 8-8 and you squeaked into the playoffs with a 9-7 record or an 8-8 record, you need to make some changes.
Yeah,
if you're
flip the
13-3,
switch
12-4, 14-2, you got to keep going with what got you there, and that's stout defensive play, great against the run, pretty good against the pass, not outstanding, but pretty good against the pass, and then an offense that's going to play action, throw the ball for 7 to 10 yard passes on first down, set yourself up for second and short and third and short. And that's what they've got to do.
Any stock in these coaches not liking each other?
Nah.
You saw what happened in the preseason. Harbaugh
Yeah,
says
Harbaugh's
there
done
was
that
a gentleman's
at every level.
agreement.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman's agreement not to run up the scores, not to go after each other's quarterbacks.
Right.
Peyton,
Once the whistle blows,
didn't honor my agreement.
Yeah.
We're going after him. I don't believe that.
Do you remember when he first took over at Stanford and the very first Pac-10 press conference, media day or whatever in August of that year, and Harbaugh just went right after Carroll?
Right,
you know?
right.
I mean,
That was the first
just
guy he went
firing
after.
away,
Right,
And
right.
Stanford was pathetic back then. They were a terrible football program when he took over. So that stuff is once the whistle blows and the game kicks off.
It comes down to the
especially in
players and
NFL,
execution.
It's the players and execution. Exactly.
I agree, and both teams should come in with a good game plan. I agree with you, Scott. Honestly, I'll just to play devil's advocate because I want to know why. I should hedge this bet because my numbers tell me to based on my true line. It says I have to hedge my future bet. And, I respect guys like yourself, guys, that I know not only handicap games, but bet the games and back their opinions with money. And I wanted to know the reasons you like this San Fran side. And you make some great points. So I think I am probably
There's great points to be made on both of these sides.
Exactly, because there's two great teams. I'm going to go out and I'm going to say I like this game to go over the total.
Okay.
I know it may sound square, Saints over, but I'll tell you what, because we have San Fran defense in this mix, I don't think it's going to be as one-sided as far as public money on the total as many may expect for a Saints game. Every other week, books are going to get flooded with overaction.
Right.
But this one's on the road in San Fran, on grass, against one of probably the best defense left in the playoffs, at least, now that Pittsburgh's gone, and they showed us they may not have been the best defense.
Well, right.
Not healthy.
Just to mention real
not
quickly about
healthy.
that, I don't think the media, and I talked about this, I think I talked about it with Marco last week here at pregame and the radio shows I do around the country, man. all week long I kept saying nobody's talking about Ryan
Yeah,
Clark.
yeah, yeah, how
and
huge
so I
it
think
is.
that had a lot. So and then they were just so banged up throughout the game. You know?
But the reason I really like this game over is because I think we're going to see scoring from both teams. I think Harbaugh knows he's going to have success. He's a sharp enough man. He knows the game well enough to understand there's some things you're not going to do in football, and one of those things is shut out a team like the New Orleans Saints.
Right.
You're just not going to do it. It's not going to happen. You know, they're just too efficient of an offense that you'd be foolish to go in there thinking we have to keep this team, you know, below 14 to win this game.
Right.
You're going to lose. That's not going to happen. It's like asking the Baltimore offense back when they won the Super Bowl, you know, we need them to score 24 or we're not going to win.
Right.
It's not going to happen, so you can't go in there thinking that. I think San Fran knows they need to put up some points to win this game. New Orleans knows they're going to put up points against any defense. And what stuck out to me the most is the one stat that statisticians tell us is the best correlation to winning football games, and that's passing yards per attempt. You know, it's not about rushing the football, it's about passing the football, especially in today's NFL. You look at the Saints, they're 8.2 passing yards per attempt, 7.6 on the road, which is amazing. But then San Fran, although they're only 6.5 passing yards per attempt overall, at home it goes up to 7.3. So you have two teams that are going to be able to throw the ball around, I think. Because of that, I don't think we're going to see the clock just keep ticking, run, San Fran run, New Orleans run. I think both could get into the 20s,
you make great
man.
points. Here's what I'm hoping for, and because of your future on New Orleans, because you like the over, I'll take a 28-27.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Go into overtime, go into OT, and nobody break one. None of that Denver magic. Nobody break one. You know me, man. I'll tell you what. When I make a future, I look to, obviously I want to cash a ticket, but I look to earn from the ticket as well. You know, you're going to hold up my money for that long. I'm going to make a profit off it.
Gotcha.
And the opportunity's there to turn a profit, so that's what I'm probably going to do. I'll let you guys know for sure. But you got Scott's bet, San Fran, plus the points. I think he likes the money line, but he's not going to say it. Just, you don't want to hurt my feelings. I like the game to go over. It's going to do it for us. Enjoy the games, make some money.